shit's in the safe. Got me a spot out the way. Nigga just tryna be safe.
Let's get to sports talk.
Experience with Tom Coughlin. You played under Tom Coughlin. Have you seen anything like this in the past from Coughlin?
I obviously have seen fines being levied down for, missing a meeting or being late for a mandatory treatment or things of that nature. Never anything that was outside of the mandatory obligations. That, being fined $700,000 feels a bit egregious for something that's not mandatory, and that's
too steep. You can't do things like that. That make the owners lose players because they seeing how he's running his team as a front office. He like a strict military run type team, and that the players you have on your team are not older. They mostly in their prime. Most of them is like 22, 23. They still young. You can't be doing that. That's too steep of a fine that you're doing, and you rubbing them players the wrong way, and you losing them.
the part that shakes me a little bit. Look, I understand that Coach Coughlin likes his ship run a certain way. He likes a certain level of discipline. He likes players to abide by a certain level of discipline. But I think this one kind of went off the rails a little bit, and it was too much for him to kind of reel back in.
When it goes off the rails like this, what's the effect on a locker room?
It has a huge effect on the locker room. Obviously, guys are walking on eggshells, not knowing what they're going to get fined for, going to meetings early, doing things that they're, just a lot of indecision in terms of where to go and how to be, because guys are getting fined for things that...
And as a owner, you don't want your players to feel like they coming into work and have to walk on eggshells because they don't know what they're going to get fined for showing up to meetings early, like Mr. Cruz said, or doing little things and get fined for it. They don't know. You don't want your players to be tiptoeing around the organization. They don't know what they're going to get in trouble for something they did or something they didn't do. They don't know what's going on and turn heads in that locker room.
I heard Leonard Fournette got fined for sitting down on the bench in a game that he wasn't even dressed for. So it gets to a point where you're like, okay, coach, where are we going with this? Because it's starting to...
Now, that's going too far. If he's hurt and he's not playing, let him sit down. You're going to fine your star running back because he sat down? Now, that's too far. Don't want them key players on the Jaguars teams. Now, what does he want to get out of Jacksonville? And then this team had to find a running back again. You can't keep rubbing the people the wrong way. That's why they took it. Matters in their own hands. But you can't do that. You find a player for sitting down and he's not even in the game, and he's dealing with an injury or something, and he sit down, you fine for that? That's too much.
There's a difference between setting rules and being disciplined behind those rules, and then just doing things off the cuff and sending fines because of how you feel at the moment.
As a former player, how common are fines for mandatory things?
They're not common at all. I mean, when things are mandatory and you miss those mandatory things, then you will get a fine. But if those things aren't mandatory, if you're not obligated to be there, either contractually or something that your coach and teammates have obligated for you to be at, you're not supposed to get fined for those things. That's just not the way it's supposed to go.
So what we're seeing here are fines from executive vice president of football operations. When that trickles down, what role should GM be playing in this situation?
It's tough because the coach obviously understands. He's probably closer to the team and understands and hears the things that they're saying in terms of... but he still has to abide by the rules, by the front office and the people upstairs. So that puts the coach in a tricky spot because he's understanding where the players are coming from and getting money, taken from them on a weekly basis when things aren't going their way. But he also listens to the front office, and I'm sure he wants to keep his job and make sure he's showing face and saving face with the front office. So it's a tough position to be put in as a head coach or a GM, but it's...
Because the owner's already seeing that we already lost our key corner and Jalen Ramsey. They seeing that they lost him, and he ain't trying to lose no more players because how Tom Coughlin trying to run this team. He looking like we already lost a key piece. I'm not trying to lose no more. We had to cut this short.
Now you have to have a conversation with both sides. Have a conversation with Coach Coughlin and see if there's a way to kind of meet in the middle with all of this, and then have a meeting with your players and kind of bring everybody together.
You were obviously a member of the NFL Players Association at one point. What was your reaction when you saw them come out so publicly and say you should consider this before signing with the Jags?
I've never seen anything like that before. And for that to be their stance and the NFLPA to come out that outrightly and say something like that, it just shows you the severity of where this situation has gotten. And it kind of forced the hand of Jacksonville to make this change because of the light and the level of attention that it was getting from the NFLPA throughout the rest of the players across the league.
Is that a good thing? I mean, this is basically the Players Association flexing on behalf of their members. Do you like that?
I do like that. I think.
Let's say if someone wanted to sign with Jacksonville and you hear the whispers coming out of that organization, how they running it, how Tom Coughlin is running it, you get fined for sitting down. Now, what does a player hear that and they don't want to sign that, and it's a big free agent that can help turn your franchise around, and you hear about petty things like that? They ain't trying to deal with that, because what if somebody did want to come there and they hear that coming out of that organization, they gonna turn away and go somewhere else. They ain't gonna want to come to Jacksonville.
It's a moment where the NFLPA had to step in and say, hey, look, this is egregious. This is out of control. Let's step in and make sure that we're taking a handle on this, and we're telling our players the right thing to do and to be cautious if they have the opportunity to play for the Jacksonville Jaguars under this regime and what things are going on there. Be very, very careful is what the NFLPA was saying.
We don't know, obviously, what the next step for Jacksonville will be, but with Tom Coughlin out of the building, can Caldwell and Marone, the GM and coach, can they actually establish a new culture when everybody is seen the way it was before?
I think they can. I think they have to establish a culture that understands. I think nowadays in the culture of the NFL, you have to listen to the players. You have to listen to what they're saying, listen to how they're acting, listen to how they're reacting to certain things, because that's going to tell you what type of guy you can bring in.
Because the table have turned. In any sport now, the players have to say something to the owners. It's a different type of culture. And Tom Coughlin haven't adapted to that. He was still in his format like he had in New York. This is Jacksonville. This is a different environment. It's a different era, different time. Players are allowed to speak up. They have a bigger voice now. And Tom Coughlin probably one of the people that don't like that. He want to say, I'm in charge. But at the same time, the owners are going to listen to the players of how they feel. He just trying to keep his team together and not have his players feeling like they can't do too much.
To kind of run the show and run the ship, and I think they can do that because they have a good young core of guys in Jacksonville that they can kind of grow and mold into whatever they want to become.
Well, obviously, nobody would know better than you. Not only have you been in locker rooms, you've been in locker rooms with Coughlin. So, Victor, we appreciate your time. Thanks for hanging out with us.
My pleasure.
Hey, everyone, thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more